Hey guys, so we're going to be testing out some new makeup outside today. I thought this would be fun. I'm starting out with this Rare Beauty Pore Diffusing Primer and I was super excited to try this. It's a newer one and as you can see I was really enjoying the texture. I really liked the way that this smoothed on the face and it did kind of do that whole pore filling smoothing thing while still being hydrating, which is very rare and hard to find, but it felt really nice on the skin as a base to start. And then I went in with these Merit sticks. This is like their concealer and foundation stick, and I was just checking for the right shade. Then I ended up mixing them together, and I'm also using this e.l.f. Precision Airbrush blender. I wanted to try a new foundation brush. I found this at Target, and so I figured I'd try it out with this Merit product. I ended up mixing the two shades, like I said, just kind of dabbing it lightly all over my face, little by little, and it did end up being a pretty good shade match for me. But since this is a drier formula, it was a little bit harder than normal to blend the two shades together with this brush that wasn't super dense. I did like using the brush with this product, but I would probably use it when I'm only one of these shades and I don't have to like mix the two together, just so that it for sure gets blended together really nicely and I don't have to work as hard in the process. I did actually like though how this product sat on my skin and how it looked on my face, but I do think in the future I would use it with an even more hydrating primer or just like a moisturizer or an oil, just because it was a little bit of a drier product. But at this point I actually decided to leave on some of the nature sounds. The rest of the video I had stuff playing in the background, so I didn't want to leave that on, but I thought it would be nice, just since we're outside anyways, to leave some of that on in the background. And I'm just spot concealing here with that Merit stick. I used the darker shade, I think it is, to spot conceal, and then I used the lighter shade underneath of my eyes. I did feel like it covered my blemishes and it did look nice on the skin throughout the day, especially after using setting spray and everything. But I do think, like I said, that probably in the future I would just use it with a moisturizer or oil underneath, just because it is a little bit more of a drier formula and I don't even usually use primers with my more moisturizing products already, so hopefully that makes sense. But I just had to turn the lighting down a little bit because it was kind of getting washed out, I felt like. But now I'm doing it underneath my eyes, and I do have to say that for underneath my eyes, this was not my favorite. Maybe if I used it with like a thick eye cream underneath, it might be better, but I'm not really sure because I don't generally have a problem with concealers looking super dry under my eyes or anything like that. So this was a little bit new to me, which makes me feel like maybe this wouldn't be the best concealer for under the eyes just in general, but then also especially if you have drier skin, and concealer tends to do that to you. But all over the rest of my face, I did feel like this turned out really nice and it wore nicely. I just would use it with a moisturizer, like I said a dozen times already. Then I'm trying out this Kosas Cloud Set. I was super excited about this. I got the shade Breezy and I picked this up during the Sephora sale. I talked about it in my last haul video, and I just used this to set underneath my eyes and a few little spots on my face where I had blemishes or where the concealer tends to settle into my fine lines. This did seem like a really lightweight powder and I couldn't really see too much going on. I'm really excited though to try this with a concealer that I already know that I like, because generally I just set underneath of my eyes and that is the main part where I notice a difference in a powder. I didn't feel like I gave it a fair shot to really see how it set my makeup. And then we have this Maybelline Instant Age Rewind Concealer in the dark olive shade that I decided to pick up and try out for a bronzer. I saw Milena Ciciotti, I think that's how you say her name, use this as like a contour bronzer, and I actually really enjoyed this. I thought this was really nice, and it did take a little bit of extra work to blend out as compared to my other cream bronzer, but I did like the really warm bronzy tone that this gave to the skin. It's a little bit warmer than my other bronzers, and I thought it'd be really nice for the summertime. I did prefer this just a little bit more blended out with the brush than with a sponge, but I did want to try blending it out with the sponge just to see, but it did soak up a little bit more product, so I did have to go in then with a little bit more. Although I think it works with a sponge or a brush, I just preferred the brush a little bit more. But then I did take that on my forehead and blended it out, just the sides of my forehead, how I normally do with my bronzer. And then I took some excess on the sides of my nose, just a little bit. I didn't want to apply the concealer there directly because I felt like it might be a little bit too much since this is a pretty pigmented product. Next, we're trying out a product that I have been really excited to try as well for a really long time. This is the Flower Beauty Blush Balm, and I use the shade Cinnamon. I applied it to the back of my hands like this, and then I tapped it on with my fingers, which I don't usually do for a cream blush, but this was like more of a liquidy formula, so I felt like it would work nicely. And then I blended it out with a sponge, and it blended out beautifully. I was really impressed with this color. And then I did use the brush on the other side, and I liked it, but I actually prefer the brush for the bronzer and the sponge for the blush. So I had to go in on the other side and apply a little bit more. And the next thing I did is try out this highlighting stick balm from Merit in the shade Kava, and this was super creamy. I just went in right with my finger and tapped it onto the cheeks, and it's a very natural product. It reminded me of the Auric Glow Lust in the sense that it has that like super dewy wet look, but it wasn't quite as like pigmented, I guess you could say. It was more of like a dew. And so I feel like the Auric Glow Lust is kind of in between this and then like a regular stick or cream highlighter. And this was just a little bit more dewy and wet look than either of those. But if you build it up, I did feel like I got more of that effect that I can get with the Auric Glow Lust. So maybe if you've been wanting to try the Auric one, pick this up instead because it is cheaper. Just something to consider because it is hard for me to find these kind of like wet look products. Then we're gonna go in and just do a little bit on the eyes. This isn't a new product to me, but this is the Wet n Wild Quad in Walking on Eggshells, and I just decided to do a little bit. I wanted to blend a shade into the crease, take some on the inner corner, and then I also used a darker shade to kind of just go on my lash line. I really love doing this. It kind of makes the lashes look thicker and it looks really pretty. So I just used a small angled brush for that. And this is the shade I used in the crease. The lighter shade I used on my inner corner, and then this deeper shade is the one I used on my lash line. So here I'm actually going in and tapping out the creases on my under eyes because it was already creasing. I really feel like it was the concealer just because of the way it looked on my skin before I even set it. The next product I'm trying out is this Milani Weekend Brow Pen. I was really excited to try this because I never tried a product like this out before. I went in and started just kind of drawing those hairs on really lightly. This isn't too pigmented, so it was really nice. And as you can see here, I really ended up enjoying this. It really gave me that feathery brow look that I love so much, but is so hard to get with a typical brow pencil because it just takes a lot longer. And this was really fast and it still gave me that effect that I like. And I could just kind of draw those hairs on really thin because this is such a thin felt tip kind of. And yeah, I think this was probably one of my favorite products that I tried out in this video, besides maybe the blush, because I really liked that as well. But then I was checking the brows with my hand over it because the lighting was so overexposed and bright out there, but I went in with a clean spoolie just to brush those brow hairs out. And then I wanted to try this Merit Tinted Brow Gel, and I just went straight in with this. I also ended up really liking this. This had the perfect amount of like pigment to it. It wasn't too thick or heavy, but it also did something. You know, it wasn't too light or thin, and I felt like it did hold my brow hairs up nicely. I kind of liked that like effect where they kind of go straight up, and I thought it turned out really nicely. So next thing we're trying out is the Merit mascara. This is the black mascara, and I am curling my lashes here. So I noticed when I opened this tube, there was a little bit of gunk there, which I wasn't really expecting because I hadn't noticed it before when I looked at the mascara, but I just wiped it off a little bit and then I went straight in. And I will say, first and foremost, this mascara is definitely one that gave me a lot of volume. So I liked it for that. And if you want a mascara that is going to give you some volume, this is a good one. But as far as length, it didn't really do that much. So generally I prefer a mascara that does both, that gives me volume and length. But this one gave me a little bit more volume than usual, but not as much length. So that's something to consider. I also used it on my lower lashes, and I liked it on my lower lashes as well. So next I'm going in with the Nyx Lip Pencil in Beige. I was really excited to try this one out as well. And I'm just lining my lips. This was a really good, very close to your lips kind of shade, or close to my lips. And it was really easy to use. I had a great first impression of this one. And then next I went in with this Honest Beauty Tinted Lip Balm in Summer Melon, I believe it's called. Just a really sheer kind of balm, I noticed. It didn't have a ton of pigment to it, but I kind of liked that, especially since I was going over top with this Merit lip oil in the shade Pink Beat. And this was really, really beautiful on top of that. It was such a pretty combo. It was very, very creamy and smooth. I love a lip oil like this. It didn't feel sticky at all. And I thought this was a nice combo. Then I went in with this Colourpop Pretty Fresh Setting Mist. I've been wanting to try this one out for a really long time, so I just tested the spray out and it was really nice. I think I got some on my camera, but I just went straight in and this smelled like coconuts. It was really, really refreshing and nice, and I had a good experience with it, but obviously that's something I'm gonna have to keep testing out. But yeah, this was the finished look. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll try to leave some more information about everything that I used in the description box down below, and I will see you guys in my next video.